Now it's time to invite Dr. Shivani. Dr. Shivani has done her MBBS and MS from King's George Medical University, Lucknow. She has done her Vitreoretina Fellowship from Narayana Nethralaya, Bangalore. She has peer-reviewed publications and co-authored 6 books chapters to her. It's to her credit, and she is the recipient of waiver travel grant in ARVO year 2017. She is a very bright girl, and now over to Dr. Shivani.
Good afternoon, everyone. At the outset, I would like to thank Dr. Pranav Ranjan sir for giving me a chance to present here. So, I will be presenting some tips on fundus fluorescent angiography without going into much detail into the FFA. So, one of the most important part is preparing the patient for any procedure. So, we have to counsel the patient so the anxiety is alleviated and the patient becomes cooperative for the investigation which we are aiming for. The positioning of patient is very important because it will enable us to have a good photographic capture of the images. When we are injecting the dye, we have to go in for a slower injection of approximately 4 to 6 seconds. Injection over 2 to 3 seconds gives us the best photographs, but again the chances of side effects increases. So a slower injection over 4 to 6 seconds is preferable. So before we plan on to go for acquisition of the images, we should have a plan in mind. So it is most efficient to use a photographic instruction slip which specifies the number of color photographs to be taken of each area, where to start the angiogram from, what is the diagnosis of the patient, what we are supposedly looking for, and any other pertinent information about the patient or the fundus. Like if the patient is a patient of renal failure, what we then we have to decrease the dose of the dye which we are using. So we have to keep all these things in mind. So the most important tip is we have to acquire 2 images. The first frame of the angiographic series is always the color photograph of each eye. And before we start injection, we need to have a pre-injection control photograph, which is very important because it checks the dual filter system. So this is what we are trying to rule out when we have a pre-injection photograph. We need to rule out pseudofluorescence versus the true autofluorescence. So any attrition in the filters, like if the excitation filters in the yellow-green light, the yellow-green light will come out through the barrier filter and then will have the fluorescence there, in spite of the fact that there was no structure which was fluorescent. So a control picture is a must before we start the injection. So we need to time, so what is normal in the angiographic procedure? So we need to time the various phases. We have the various phases as choroidal flush, arterial phase, the arteriovenous transit phase, the venous phase, and the late phase. Coming to the choroidal flush, it is basically we have a patchy distribution. So basically the patchy distribution is due to the lobular distribution of the choroidal circulation, and it has a deep diffuse background fluorescence. Coming to the arterial phase, which gives us the arm to retina time, which is basically 8 to 12 seconds after the choroidal flush, and it also depends upon the age of the patient and the cardiovascular status and the speed of injection. So the arterial tree fills up instantaneously and quickly. It does not have any gap soever, and any delay in any segment will mean there is a vascular filling defect. Coming to the arteriovenous phase, here we can see the laminar flow. We can see 2 hyperfluorescent line along the course of the veins that depicts the starting of the arteriovenous phase, which is approximately 10 to 15 seconds. And this is the peak phase of the angiogram and the best time to study foveal avascular zone. When we reach the venous phase, the veins completely fill in, and this is approximately another 10 to 25 seconds of time. The late phase or the recirculation phase is basically more than 5 minutes, when the fluorescence is completely washed off the circulation, and then again it comes into the circulation. So it will the fluorescence will be there, but it will start to decline gradually. So basically in the late phase, we need to look for the late leakage of the dye, pulling of the dye, and the staining of the tissues. So here we can see the optic disc staining, which is present in normally in the late phases. So these are the various time according to the phases of angiogram. So after knowing the normal, we need to identify the abnormal also. So the any fluorescence can be divided into two types of abnormal fluorescence, which can be hypo or hyper. So we need to study the course of these areas as the angiogram proceeds. This is taken from Ryan, and in this we can see hypofluorescence again can be due to a blocked hypofluorescence or a vascular filling defect. So if a retinal material is being blocked, if we are not able to see the retinal vasculature, the blockade has to be superficial to the retinal nerve layer. So it has to be in the anterior segment, vitreous, or the inner retinal layers. If the choroidal material is not seen, the choroidal fluorescence is blocked, it is either due to the deep retinal or the subretinal. We need to rule out the deep retinal or subretinal. It can be either hemorrhage. So vascular filling defect again can be at the level of retina or the disc. Retina again, it can be, we have to look for any arterial thrombus or the emboli. We have to rule out any vascular occlusion or any combination of that. In the choroidal part, we have to rule out any PCA blockade, or if there is a coloboma, because as the choroid is absent, therefore there will be a vascular filling defect. Coming to the hyperfluorescence, we need to see where we are dealing with the hyperfluorescence. In the pre-injection fluorescence, either it has to be autofluorescence or it can be a pseudofluorescence. As we all know, autofluorescence happens in two main conditions, that is an optic nerve drusen or astrocytic hematoma. Pseudofluorescence already we have dealt, it is due to the poorly matched filters. In the early, again we have to look for the retina or the choroidal. So any new vessel will lead to increased blood circulation like tortuosity, anastomosis, neovascularization, aneurysms, telangiectasias or tumor vessels. Coming to the choroid, if normally RP blocks the fluorescence. So if we have a window defect in cases of atrophy or congenital reduction, we'll have increased fluorescence. And if we have increased vascularity, which happens in a new vessel formation, that is a subretinal neovascularization, inflammation or increased vascularity in tumor, it will lead to hyperfluorescence. Late again we need to see the level, vitreous, retinal or choroidal. Again in vitreous, a neovascularization will lead to a hyperfluorescence like a cotton candy hyperfluorescence, which is indicative of the neovascularization. In cases of inflammation or tumor, choroid we have to look for the pooling or the staining. In a retina, we can have a cystoid edema or non-cystoid edema, which can retain the fluorescence. Therefore, it can lead to late hyperfluorescence. So, after we have identified the normal, we need to identify the abnormal vasculature. So, neovascularization again can be at the level of choroid. So, early hyperfluorescence, which goes on increasing till the late phases, it is a choroidal thing. In the retinal neovascularization, we'll see it at the level of the retina, and it is going to leak profusely in the late phases in the vitreous. So collaterals and shunts, they never leak on angiogram. Telangiectasias, microaneurysms, they all lead to early hyper and late leakage. So the thumb rule is every time we see a blockade or a vascular filling defect, we need to correspond FFA finding with the clinical fundus picture. The last task is to, we have to report our findings. We have to report the arm to retina time, AV transit time, foveal avascular zone, the size and the shape of it, abnormal fluorescence areas and their course like the CNP areas, microaneurysms, and the late phase findings like the leakage or the staining. So this is about the tips of the FFA. Sir, I had some cases also.
Just so, can you you can go through one or two samples, right?
So this is a classical example of a fluorescence which is like a pinpoint which is going on increasing, and this is a classical ink blot appearance. We can see the NSD in the OCT also. So coming to this is a ink blot, this is a fluorescence which is going on increasing in a smokestack appearance. So the important thing is in a case of we can see a lacy hyperfluorescence over here in the early phases, which is going on increasing, and this is a very classic example of a classic CNBM. So this is example of a we can see a filling defect over here and a florid leakage at the disc. So this is example of a vein occlusion with a NVD. So coming to this is an example of, we can see a subhyaloid hemorrhage and blocked hypofluorescence in this case. So this is an example of a PDR. So this is an example of a in this we cannot see a early hyperfluorescence, but as the angiogram progresses, there is increase in hyperfluorescence. So this is an example of occult CNVM. So this is basically focal DME where we can make out the pinpoint leakages, and this is an example of a diffuse DME where we cannot make out the leakage. This is very important because we are going to, if we are planning focal lasers, we need to have a fluorescent angiography. So this is example of a ischemic maculopathy where the normal fovea is enlarged and it is irregular, and there are capillary budding also. So this is an example of a patient with vasculitis where we can see perivascular staining and CNP areas in the periphery. Thank you.
Just one quick question. What is the difference between a FFA finding and the OCTA which has come up? Any
Sir, the
limitation of
we cannot
OCT
detect
angio?
the actual flow in the OCT angiography. It is still in the process of evolution. In the FFA, we detect the actual flow of the vessels. That is the only difference which we have. I think with due course of time, they will have something in OCTA which will also detect the flow.
Thank you,